After weeks of speculation surrounding the shocking death of Hollywood legend Gene Hackman, the FBI has finally revealed the person responsible for this heartbreaking loss. At 95 years old, Hackman's passing stunned fans around the world, but now authorities have uncovered the truth behind this mysterious case. Who is the person behind this unimaginable act, and what was their motive? Stay with us as we reveal the identity of the suspect and the chilling details behind this tragic case. It all began on February 26, 2025, when a maintenance worker showed up for a routine check at Gene Hackman's Santa Fe home. The Hollywood icon had long preferred a quiet, private life, rarely making public appearances. But one thing was certain: he never missed an appointment. So when the worker knocked and got nothing but silence, alarm bells went off. The worker tried calling Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, but no answer. He dialed again, still nothing. The house was eerily quiet, with not even a single bark from their dogs. Maybe they had just stepped out? He waited a few minutes before trying once more. Silence. Something wasn't right. Inside the home, two motionless figures lay on the floor. The security officer didn't hesitate. He called 911, reporting what looked like an unresponsive elderly couple. Within minutes, police and emergency responders were racing to the scene. Inside the bathroom, Betsy Arakawa lay motionless on the floor. Nearby, officers spotted a bottle of pills spilled across the countertop. The sight sent up red flags. Was this a tragic accident, a medical crisis, or something far more sinister? But then came an even more baffling twist. The couple's German Shepherd was also dead, lying close to Betsy. Yet strangely, two other dogs in the house were completely unharmed. What was going on here? If this was a gas leak or poisoning, wouldn't all three dogs have been affected? Why was only one dead while the others were perfectly fine? The investigation was just getting started. But one thing was clear: something wasn't making sense. As investigators searched the home, it became clear. This was no ordinary case. There were no signs of forced entry. The doors were locked, the windows were secure, and everything seemed perfectly in place. Nothing had been ransacked, and valuables like jewelry, electronics, and cash were untouched. A robbery gone wrong? Unlikely. But if not that, then what? One of the first shocking discoveries was how the bodies were positioned. Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's 65-year-old wife, was found sprawled on the bathroom floor. But what caught investigators' attention immediately? Pills scattered across the nearby countertop. Were these part of her regular medication, or had she taken them in a panic, perhaps after witnessing something terrifying? Even more unsettling, officials didn't reveal what kind of medication it was, fueling speculation. Could this have been an overdose, accidental, or intentional? In another room, police discovered Gene Hackman. The 95-year-old Hollywood icon lay near his walking cane, as if he had collapsed while trying to make his way through the house. His body showed no visible injuries, and he was fully clothed, suggesting a sudden fall rather than a violent attack. But with no blood, no bruises, and no clear signs of trauma, the mystery only grew deeper. At first, this detail might have seemed small, but it completely shifted the investigation. Why? Because while the German Shepherd was dead, the other two dogs were perfectly fine. That changed everything. If carbon monoxide poisoning was to blame, a silent killer that claims lives without warning, every living thing in the house should have been affected. But toxic gas tests ruled that out fast. And if poison was involved, why did only one dog die while the others survived? Something wasn't adding up. As investigators pieced the mystery together, an unsettling feeling lingered. Something just didn't add up. Then, they uncovered a game-changing clue: Gene Hackman's pacemaker data. And what it revealed would turn the entire case on its head. Modern pacemakers do more than regulate heartbeats. They track and store vital data, recording every rhythm, irregularity, and cardiac event. When medical examiners pulled Hackman's records, they uncovered something chilling. His pacemaker had logged its final event on February 17, 2025, 10 days before their bodies were found. What had happened in those missing days? This meant Gene Hackman likely passed away on or around February 17th, much earlier than investigators first suspected. But this chilling discovery led to an even bigger question. When did Betsy Arakawa die? If she passed soon after Hackman, that meant she had been alone in the house with his body for an unknown amount of time. But what if she had survived for several days, or even a week? If that was the case, why didn't she call for help? The couple had cell phones. They lived in a secure, well-maintained neighborhood. If Betsy had been in distress, she had plenty of ways to call for help: family, friends, emergency services. But here's what stunned investigators. There were no records of her making a single call. Not one. Authorities then turned to security footage from the gated community. If Hackman had died first, had anyone visited the house after February 17th? Was there any unusual activity? And if no one had come or gone in those 10 days, how did they both end up dead at the same time? If this was a medical emergency or an environmental hazard, why did it only affect one dog? That made no sense. For investigators, this detail was a game changer. It suggested that whatever led to Gene and Betsy's deaths wasn't just some tragic accident. It may have been deliberately introduced into their home. At this point, police weren't ruling anything out. But then, the case took an even darker turn. Authorities arrested a suspect. Just when investigators thought they were dealing with an unexplained tragedy, the case flipped upside down. Authorities confirmed they had arrested a suspect, but they refused to reveal a name, a motive, or even how this person was connected to the couple. As soon as the news broke, speculation erupted online. Who was this mystery suspect? What were they hiding? And why were police keeping everything so tightly under wraps? Another theory? The suspect might have been someone who had entered the home in the days leading up to their deaths. Investigators combed through surveillance footage from the gated community, searching for any sign of an intruder. But then came the most chilling possibility. What if the killer had been inside the house the entire time? Adding to the eerie nature of the case, neither Hackman nor Betsy showed any clear signs of struggle or violence. How could two people just die without a trace of what really happened? If an intruder had been inside the home, how could two adults and a large German shepherd have died without a struggle? It didn't add up. But what if this wasn't a sudden attack? What if this was a case of slow poisoning? Someone with access to their home, secretly administering toxic substances over time? And then there was the strangest part. Police refused to reveal the suspect's identity. In most high-profile cases, authorities at least confirm if the person is being questioned or officially charged. But this time, silence. And that only made things more suspicious. Authorities assured the public they were working tirelessly to uncover the truth. But until they released more details, speculation ran wild. The case had reached a critical point. Was this a heartbreaking coincidence, or had something far more sinister unfolded? The answer now hinged on one crucial piece of evidence: the toxicology reports. And those results could finally expose what really happened inside Gene Hackman's home. With no clear cause of death at the scene, investigators turned to a critical piece of evidence: the toxicology reports. These tests would reveal whether Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa had drugs, alcohol, or toxic substances in their systems when they died. And given the bizarre circumstances, no forced entry, no visible injuries, and only one of their 3 dogs mysteriously dead, these results could flip everything we thought we knew about this case. But investigators weren't starting from scratch. They already had chilling clues suggesting a possible poisoning, or even an overdose. The biggest mystery? What kind of medication were those pills? If they were prescription drugs, were they something Betsy had been taking regularly, or was the dosage dangerously high? Investigators dug into the couple's medical history. At 95, Hackman likely had prescriptions for age-related conditions: heart disease, high blood pressure, maybe arthritis. Betsy, at 65, may have also been on medication. But here's the real question: had these medications been altered, tampered with, or taken in amounts that could turn deadly? Investigators also considered a chilling possibility: intentional poisoning. If someone had access to their medication, could they have secretly laced it with something deadly? At this stage, detectives weren't taking any chances. Nothing was off the table. If Gene and Betsy were poisoned, why weren't all 3 dogs affected? If it was an environmental toxin, like a gas leak or contaminated water, how did only 1 dog die? That made no sense. Could the German shepherd have eaten or drank something the other 2 dogs instinctively avoided? Or was there something even more sinister at play? This bizarre clue pushed investigators to test the dog's remains for toxic substances. If they found a deadly chemical in its system, it could mean Gene and Betsy had ingested the exact same thing. Could it have been carbon monoxide poisoning? One of the first possibilities investigators explored was carbon monoxide, CO, a silent killer behind countless mysterious deaths. Odorless, invisible, and deadly in high concentrations, CO can make victims pass out and die without a single warning sign. This only deepened the mystery. If carbon monoxide wasn't the culprit, then what was? Could this have been a case of slow poisoning? One of the most chilling theories was that Hackman and Arakawa had been poisoned gradually over time. But the strangest part? Police had arrested someone almost immediately, despite not having a confirmed cause of death. Typically, authorities wait for toxicology reports before making a move. But this time, they acted fast. Why? What did they already know? With police keeping quiet about the suspect, speculation only grew. But one thing was certain: the toxicology results would be the key to everything. If they confirmed poisoning, this wouldn't just be a tragedy, it would be a homicide investigation. As the world waited for answers, one final mystery loomed. Why hadn't Betsy called for help after Gene's death? Investigators combed through her last known actions, searching for one last clue that could finally explain what really happened inside that house. Gene Hackman wasn't just a Hollywood star. he was a legend. Known for unforgettable performances in The French Connection, Unforgiven, and Superman, he won 2 Academy Awards and built a career filled with cinematic classics. But unlike most A-list actors, Hackman had zero interest in fame. In 2004, he made a shocking move. He walked away from acting completely and never looked back. While many retired stars still do interviews, attend award shows, or take the occasional role, Hackman vanished from Hollywood altogether. He retreated to Santa Fe, New Mexico, choosing a quiet life with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. But was his retirement just about peace, or was there something more? Some have started asking, was he running from something? Did he have enemies lurking in the shadows? Hackman had a reputation for being blunt and tough to work with. He often clashed with directors and co-stars, and while many respected his talent, they admitted he wasn't always easy on set. There were even stories of heated arguments behind the scenes of some of his biggest films. At the time, these disputes didn't seem serious, but Hollywood has a long memory and powerful connections. If Hackman had made an enemy in the industry, could it have come back to haunt him? Could someone from his past have held onto a grudge, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? One of the biggest mysteries in this case was Betsy Arakawa's role. As Hackman's wife for over 30 years, she was his closest confidant. The couple had no children together, and she was one of the few people he completely trusted. If something sinister was happening behind the scenes, could Betsy have known? Had she uncovered something dangerous in the days leading up to their deaths? Was she living in fear, or had she been a target all along? If someone wanted to harm Hackman, they might have seen Betsy as an obstacle standing in their way. There was also the possibility that Hackman had sensed trouble before his death. Had he told anyone he felt uneasy or threatened? Did he mention any recent conflicts or concerns to friends or neighbors? And if he had felt unsafe, why didn't he reach out to the authorities? Or worse, had he tried to, but someone stopped him before he could? As investigators dug deeper, one question kept haunting them. How was the suspect in custody connected to all of this? With no signs of forced entry, the suspect either had access to the home or had been let in. So who were they? A trusted friend? A visitor? Someone the couple had known for years? And if Hackman and Betsy had died naturally, then why had police arrested someone at all? Something wasn't adding up. At this stage, the evidence was stacking up, but solid answers were nowhere to be found. Was this just a tragic medical event, a carefully planned scheme, or something even more sinister? The truth remained just out of reach. And until investigators revealed more about the suspect, Hackman's death would stand as one of Hollywood's most baffling mysteries. Fans and the public wanted answers. But one thing was certain, this story was far from over. With so many unanswered questions, both investigators and the public have floated multiple theories about what really happened to Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa. Some believe it was just a tragic coincidence. Others suspect something far more sinister. What makes this case so disturbing is the timing of their deaths. Hackman's pacemaker data showed his heart stopped on February 17, 2025, a full 10 days before police found the bodies. But Betsy's remains showed early signs of mummification, meaning she had also been dead for several days. So, if Hackman died first, was Betsy still alive afterward? And if she was, why didn't she call for help? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she reach out to anyone? The fact that she didn't raises chilling questions. One of the simplest explanations: Hackman and Betsy both died of natural causes within days of each other. At 95, Hackman was at high risk for heart failure, stroke, or another sudden medical emergency. If he passed first, Betsy, just 65, could have been too overwhelmed by grief or too disoriented to react. That might explain why no emergency calls were made and why their bodies went undiscovered for 10 days. But here's the problem. This theory doesn't explain the strangest detail of all. Their German Shepherd also died, while the other 2 dogs were perfectly fine. If this had been carbon monoxide poisoning or some environmental toxin, all 3 dogs, and that left the biggest question of all. If this was truly a natural event, why had police arrested someone? This led investigators to a far more chilling possibility: poisoning. Could Hackman and Betsy have been slowly poisoned over time? Some toxins like heavy metals or antifreeze build up in the body gradually, causing weakness, confusion, and eventually death. A slow-acting poison might explain why Hackman's pacemaker stopped on February 17th, but Betsy didn't die right away. If she had been exposed to the same toxin but at a lower dose, she could have suffered for days before finally succumbing. This theory also raised another disturbing thought. What about the German Shepherd? If the dog had eaten poisoned food or drank contaminated water while the other 2 dogs avoided it, that could explain why only one of them died. But if poisoning was the cause, the next terrifying question was, who did this and why? This theory also fit with one undeniable fact. Police had already arrested a suspect. If investigators moved in before toxicology reports were even completed, it suggests they had uncovered other evidence of foul play. Maybe they found tampered medication, maybe there was a financial motive, or maybe someone had tried to alter the crime scene. The secrecy surrounding the suspect only made things more suspicious. Who was this person? A close acquaintance? A caretaker? A family member? Had they gained access to Hackman's home under false pretenses? Or was this someone with a hidden grudge, financial, personal, or something even darker? With toxicology results still pending, the truth remained just out of reach. If poison was found in Hackman and Betsy's systems, this case would instantly turn into a homicide investigation. If no foreign substances were detected, then investigators would have to rethink everything. But one thing is undeniable. Until all the facts are revealed, this remains one of Hollywood's most chilling and unexplained mysteries.